Why is self-service so challenging for the public sector? I don't really know, but I know someone who does. Joe Forte is the Senior Vice President of Public Sector for NICE. Joe, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about this question of self-service and in government, higher ed. You travel all over the country talking to leaders. What are you hearing?
I'm hearing some frustration in the marketplace, of course. The commercial and enterprise space has been all about self-service for many, many years. Public sector's been behind the scene, a bit of slow uptick in self-service. Their traditional hours, 8 to 5, maybe 8 to 4, really precluded them from really designing systems to help their citizens interact after hours. And since they really didn't have that in their portfolio, they just continued to use the traditional call in, wait on hold, listen to music, and get the answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it used to be you literally had to show up in person. Again, certain hours, certain days of the week, there's
still that way.
Yeah, it's still that way. So it's really a paradigm shift of the way we've always done it to now expectations.
Absolutely, right. And as the U.S. economy has changed and things happened through the pandemic, people wanted more and more options to do things on their own, utilizing a lot of new tools that have been out there, social media tools. They want the government to do the same thing, provide services in a way that they can utilize them at any time, day or night.
So you talked about the public sector being a little bit behind the private sector. Why is that?
I think a lot of it is there's siloed businesses within the government, right? You have different agencies. Some of those agencies don't have the ability to share information. There may be some legal reasons for those. So they tend to build themselves in a bit of a silo. And they're supporting a very defined group of citizens, and they don't really mix with others. So I think that was it's a big catalyst for why there's not a lot of change very rapidly in this space.
So the leaders that are moving into self-service, what do they see as kind of their drivers of why they really do need to move into self-service?
So we're seeing some really progressive state CIOs that are coming in and saying, oh, look, we could do this better. We can engage our citizenry differently. We're also seeing governors that have stepped in and say, hey, we want our citizens to be able to interact with the government. And that is really driving a lot of change in this market. And we're seeing it across the country as we travel around and we speak with state CIOs. That's what's coming up over and over and again. How do we make sure that we can stay open for business 24/7 and engage our citizenry in an asynchronous engagement?
Well, I know budget, obviously, with governments, always seems like they never have enough. How does self-service how are you kind of talking to these people about ROI, or is there an ROI with self-service, I guess?
Absolutely an ROI with self-service. And it really depends on every agency.
Yeah.
And not every agency is even going to really benefit from self-service, right? There'll be some that just don't require it. But the ones that do find that they have a lot of hold times or their citizens are not able to get the answers they need during the day, having that self-service at night is really helpful to them. Additionally, self-service, we think that that's going to come in and it's going to reduce the amount of headcount you might have in your contact center. But that's not the case. What it really does is enables you as a CIO just to look who's calling in, why are they calling in, and make some determinations. Maybe I need to run my agency differently because people are asking me all these same questions and I'm not answering on my website or in an application. So it gives me great insight into my business.
Well, and I know, customer expectations are changing. I had to engage with the IRS to get a form, and I had to call a phone number and go through an IVR. Actually, I was handled immediately, and a very nice person answered the phone and was able to help me. Of course, they wanted to fax the information to me, which is kind of useless today, or wait 2 weeks for it to show up in the mail. But it was great customer service on one hand. They answered the call quickly, they knew what I was needing and took care of it. But on the other hand, it's not the experience I want. I don't want to talk to a person and download a form.
Right. That's a great point, right? And I think these agencies and CIOs are starting to notice that. Right? Well, how do I utilize the system properly? If you go to frequently asked questions on a lot of these websites for these agencies or departments, very old answers that might be in there, and they're difficult to really understand what they're asking for. And then you can find hundreds of forms sometimes for different agencies. And they all look similar. I'm not sure, do I fill out the DD1 or DD23? Which one do I fill out? And the self-service is going to give them the ability to have a virtual conversation with the person to understand what they're looking for and provide them options very quickly and show them, hey, this is the form you need to fill out, and even in some cases help them fill the form out.
Yeah, so we're kind of getting into the knowledge management space. How are you guys? You talked about this problem of having all this stuff. Like, how are you guys kind of helping to address that?
Yeah, so knowledge management is really the key to all of it, right? It's garbage in, garbage out. You've heard that 1,000 times. But it's very, very important that the knowledge that is institutionalized stays in that bounds. And when a citizen is asking for information, it's coming directly from the agency, the department. What we were finding as we're developing these journeys with our clients is the ones that are relying on the internet for an answer quickly find out it doesn't really work very well, right? You get a lot of bias in those answers. And what we've developing and we're asking our clients to look at is having their own knowledge base that is locked into that department or agency, where all the truth is in one place, and they can continue to update it and catalog it and maintain it and manage it.
Awesome. Can you share a quick success story of someone that you've been working with that's really seeing a lot of success in self-service?
Yeah, so there's a particular agency in a state that we work with in Southeast. They utilized a mechanism to install self-service. They were getting a lot of clients or citizens that were called throughout the day, and this particular agency required you to call multiple times because it was a bit complicated what they were trying to solve for the citizens. So the citizen would call in, speak to Betty one day, the next day talk to Ernie, and the next day talk to Susan, and it was getting frustration from the citizenry. They just couldn't connect right. Well, installing self-service allowed them to now catalog every time I would call in, for instance. It would know that I called in. It would recognize when I asked the first time. Say, Joe, you want to fill out the second form that you needed? Oh, by the way, the picture that you sent in didn't work properly. So here's some photo places you can go get another picture taken and send it back into us. So that's the type of self-service that's really taking hold in the public sector.
Yeah, I mean, I love it because we talked about ROI and kind of, saving your organization money, kind of fixing operational problems, but at the end of the day, delivering CX to the customers. And I guess that's, what this is all about.
It's what it's all about, and it's asynchronous.
Well, it's good to see some agencies taking the step forward, and it's good to see how NICE is partnering with them to deliver success in this space.
Absolutely.
Great. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.